The champagne bubbled in my glass like my excitement, but both went flat the moment Sarah opened her mouth. Listen, Eddie, she said, twirling her engagement ring, the one I'd just slipped onto her finger 5 minutes ago at this overpriced downtown restaurant. Before we go any further, there's something you need to understand. Blake is still in my life. He always will be. We have history. We have connections. So you're going to have to deal with it. I stared at her across the candlelit table, my brain struggling to process what I'd just heard. Sarah Martinez, the woman I'd been dating for 2 years, the woman I'd just proposed to, was telling me her ex-boyfriend was a permanent fixture in our future marriage. Deal with it? I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. Sarah's perfectly manicured fingers drummed against the white tablecloth. Blake and I understand each other in ways you never could. We're connected on a deeper level. But that doesn't mean I don't care about you, Eddie. I do. You're stable, reliable. You provide security. The words hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. Stable, reliable, security. She was describing a savings account, not a husband. So let me get this straight, I said, setting down my champagne glass with deliberate care. You want to marry me for stability while keeping your ex around for what exactly? Sarah's green eyes flashed with irritation. For passion, Eddie. For the parts of me you'll never understand. Blake gets my soul. You get my practical side. The restaurant buzzed around us. Couples celebrating anniversaries, families enjoying Friday night dinners, business deals being sealed over expensive wine. Normal people living normal lives, while mine imploded in real time. I stood up slowly, pulling my wallet from my jacket pocket. Sarah's eyes widened as I placed $300 on the table, enough to cover our meal and her cab ride home. Where are you going? She demanded. To deal with it, I said, sliding the engagement ring off her finger. Just not the way you expected. I walked out of Romano's Italian bistro and didn't look back. My hands shook as I started my truck, Sarah's words echoing in my head like a broken record. 26 months of my life, gone. The ring that cost me 3 months' salary from my insurance business, worthless. The future I'd planned, destroyed. But as I drove through the rainy streets of Millfield, Maine, something else began to take shape in my mind. A plan. A beautifully twisted plan that would teach Sarah exactly what dealing with it really meant. By the time I reached our apartment on Elm Street, my shock had crystallized into cold, calculating fury. Sarah had made her choice, and now I was going to make mine. I called my buddy Mike from the hardware store. I need new locks installed tonight. All of them. Can you help me out? Tonight? Eddie, it's almost 10 p.m. What's the emergency? The emergency is that I'm about to become single again, and I need to secure my property before my soon-to-be ex gets home. Mike whistled low. Sarah, man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll be right over. While I waited, I began the systematic removal of Sarah's belongings from my life. Her expensive skincare products from the bathroom vanity. Her designer clothes from the closet we'd shared, her pretentious art books and organic tea collection from the kitchen. Every item went into boxes with the efficiency of a man who'd finally seen the truth. Sarah had always been particular about her things. Everything had to be perfect, organized, expensive. She spent more on a single purse than I made in a week, funded by her job at Morrison & Associates, the biggest PR firm in Portland. She'd often reminded me that she made twice my salary, usually when I suggested we split expenses equally. Mike arrived with his toolkit and a 6-pack of beer. So what happened? He asked as he started removing the front door lock. She told me her ex-boyfriend was staying in her life permanently, right after I proposed. Mike paused, drill bit halfway through the door. She said what now? Apparently, I'm the stable, reliable one who provides security. Blake, that's the ex. He provides the passion and understands her soul. I couldn't keep the bitterness out of my voice. Blake Morrison? Mike asked. Tall guy, drives a silver BMW, thinks his crap doesn't stink. I looked up from packing Sarah's jewelry box. You know him? Unfortunately. He came into the store a few months ago, acting like he owned the place. Wanted me to install a security system at his house, then tried to negotiate my prices down by half. Real piece of work. Mike finished the front lock and moved to the bedroom. You know he's married, right? My hands stilled on Sarah's jewelry. What? Yeah, his wife comes in sometimes. Marina Morrison. Nice lady, actually, always polite. Pays her bills on time. She bought garden supplies last spring. Mentioned her husband was never home to help with the yard work. A slow smile spread across my face. Marina Morrison. Yeah, why? You got that look, Eddie. That's your scheming look. I continued packing Sarah's things, but my mind was racing. Blake Morrison was married. Sarah was having an affair with a married man, and apparently his wife had no idea he was never home because he was too busy providing passion to my fiancé. Mike, I said carefully, what does Marina Morrison look like? Gorgeous. I mean, absolutely stunning. Long dark hair, brown eyes, probably mid-30s. She's got this quiet confidence about her, you know? Like she doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. Perfect. By midnight, we'd changed all the locks and stacked Sarah's belongings neatly by the front door. I'd even included a note. Since Blake provides everything you really need, I figured you wouldn't want to keep the things your stable, reliable ex-fiancé bought you. Good luck with your soul connection. Mike cracked open a beer and handed me one. So what's the plan? I took a long drink, savoring the cold bite of the booze and the even colder satisfaction of my revenge taking shape. Sarah made a deal. She picked her ex, and now I'm going to pick his wife. You're going to ask out Blake's wife? I'm going to ask out Blake's wife, I confirmed. Sarah wanted me to deal with her choice. Well, I'm dealing with it. She gets Blake, I get Marina, and everyone gets exactly what they deserve. Mike laughed and shook his head. Eddie, you magnificent fool. This is either brilliant or completely insane. Maybe both, I admitted. But Sarah's about to learn that two can play the soul connection game. Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzling, typical for October in Maine. I'd barely slept, my mind churning with plans and possibilities. Sarah had tried calling 17 times and sent a dozen increasingly frantic texts. I'd ignored them all. At 9 a.m. sharp, I drove to Morrison Hardware and Garden Supply. Mike had told me Marina usually came in Saturday mornings for weekend project supplies. I parked across the street and waited, feeling like a stalker, but telling myself I was just strategically positioning myself. At 9:47, she appeared. Mike hadn't exaggerated. Marina Morrison was absolutely stunning, but in a natural, effortless way that made Sarah's high-maintenance beauty seem artificial by comparison. She wore jeans and a simple green sweater, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, no makeup that I could detect. She moved with the kind of confidence that came from being comfortable in her own skin. I waited until she'd been inside for 10 minutes, then followed her in. She was in the paint section, studying color swatches with the intensity of a scientist examining lab results. I approached casually, pretending to look at brushes. Excuse me, I said. You wouldn't happen to know anything about painting kitchen cabinets, would you? I'm completely lost here. She looked up, and I was struck by her eyes, warm brown with flecks of gold. Actually, I just refinished mine last month. Are you going for a complete color change or just refreshing what's there? Complete change. I'm redecorating. Starting over, you might say. She smiled, and it transformed her entire face. Starting over can be liberating. What's your kitchen like now? We spent the next 20 minutes talking about paint types, primer requirements, and brush techniques. Marina was knowledgeable without being condescending, funny without trying too hard. She recommended brands, shared tips from her own experience, and somehow made paint selection seem like the most fascinating topic in the world. I'm Eddie, by the way, I said as she helped me select brushes. Marina, nice to meet you, Eddie. Listen, Marina, I know this might sound forward, but would you like to get coffee sometime? You've been incredibly helpful, and I'd love to repay the favor. Plus, I have a feeling I'm going to need more home improvement advice in the coming weeks. She hesitated, and for a moment, I thought she'd say no. Then she smiled again. I'd like that. But I should mention, I'm married. So was I until yesterday, I said. Sometimes coffee is just coffee. Something flickered in her eyes. Understanding, maybe, or recognition of a kindred spirit. Sometimes it is. Do you know Brewster's Cafe on Main Street? I do. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock? Perfect. As I loaded my paint supplies into my truck, I felt better than I had in months. Marina Morrison was everything Sarah wasn't. Genuine, warm, unpretentious. If Blake was stupid enough to neglect a woman like that for someone like Sarah, then he deserved exactly what was coming to him. My phone buzzed with another text from Sarah. Eddie, please call me. We need to talk about this. I'm sorry if I upset you, but you're being ridiculous. I deleted the message without reading it completely. Sarah thought I was being ridiculous. She hadn't seen anything yet. Sunday afternoon found me at Brewster's Cafe 15 minutes early, nursing a black coffee and trying not to look as nervous as I felt. I'd spent the morning actually starting to paint my kitchen cabinets, partly to have something to talk about, and partly because the physical activity helped calm my racing thoughts. Marina arrived exactly at 2, wearing a blue dress that brought out her eyes and a leather jacket that had seen better days but somehow looked perfect on her. She spotted me immediately and waved, that same genuine smile lighting up her face. "How did the painting go?" she asked as she sat down across from me. Slower than I expected, but therapeutic. "You were right about the primer. It makes all the difference." She ordered a latte, and we fell into easy conversation about home improvement projects, the weather, and the quirks of small-town Maine life. Marina had grown up in Millfield, moved away for college, and returned 5 years ago when she married Blake. "What brought you back?" I asked. Her smile faltered slightly. "Love," I thought. "Blake grew up here too, and he convinced me that small-town life was what we both needed. A chance to build something real together away from the chaos of city life. And how's that working out?" Marina stared into her latte for a long moment. "Blake travels a lot for work. Financial consulting, he's gone 3 or 4 days a week, sometimes more. When he is home, he's usually on his phone or computer, working on deals, networking, building his client base." I felt a stab of guilt. Blake wasn't traveling for work. He was with Sarah. But Marina didn't need to know that, not yet. "That sounds lonely," I said. "It is." She looked up at me and I saw a sadness there that made my chest tight. "I keep telling myself it's temporary, that once his business is established, things will get better, but it's been 3 years and he's more absent now than ever." "What about you? What do you do when he's away?" "I teach part-time at the elementary school, 3rd grade. I also do freelance graphic design work from home. I've been renovating our house, room by room, mostly by myself. It gives me something to focus on." The picture she painted was heartbreakingly clear. A woman pouring her energy into creating a beautiful home for a husband who was never there to appreciate it, building a life with someone who'd already checked out of their marriage. "Eddie," she said suddenly, "can I ask what happened with your marriage?" "You mentioned yesterday that you were married until Friday." I took a deep breath. My fiancée, we weren't actually married yet, told me that her ex-boyfriend was staying in her life permanently. She said he understood her soul in ways I never could, but that I provided stability and security. Marina's eyes widened. "She said that? Right after you proposed?" "Right after I proposed. Apparently, I was the practical choice, while he was the passionate one." "That's horrible, Eddie. I'm so sorry." The worst part is, I believed her for a while. I thought maybe I wasn't exciting enough, passionate enough. But then I realized the problem wasn't me. It was her. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too. Marina nodded slowly. "Some people are never satisfied with what they have. They always think there's something better just out of reach." We talked for another hour about books, movies, travel dreams, and childhood memories. Marina was intelligent, thoughtful, and refreshingly honest about her struggles and disappointments. When she laughed at my stories about insurance claim disasters, it was genuine and infectious. As we prepared to leave, Marina touched my arm lightly. "Thank you for this, Eddie. I haven't had a conversation this enjoyable in months." "Neither have I. Would you like to do it again sometime?" She hesitated, and I could see the internal debate playing out on her face. "I shouldn't. I'm married, and you're very easy to talk to. Marina, I'm not asking you to do anything you're not comfortable with, but everyone deserves to have someone actually listen to them once in a while." She smiled, but there was something wistful about it. "Blake used to listen to me. In the beginning. What changed? Success, I think. Or the pursuit of it. The more clients he got, the more time he spent away from home, the more money he made, the less interested he became in the simple things we used to enjoy together." I walked her to her car, a modest Honda that was clean and well-maintained. Everything about Marina spoke of someone who took care of what she had, who appreciated quality over flash. "Marina," I said as she unlocked her door, "I know this might sound presumptuous, but if you ever need help with any of those home improvement projects, I'm pretty handy with tools. And I promise I'm a better listener than I am a painter." She looked at me for a long moment, and I could see the longing in her eyes, not for romance, but for simple human connection. "Blake's traveling again this week. I'm planning to refinish the hardwood floors in the living room. It's a big job for one person. I'd be happy to help. Wednesday evening around 6, I'll be there. As I watched her drive away, I felt a strange mix of emotions. The revenge aspect of my plan was working perfectly. Marina was everything Sarah wasn't, and spending time with her would be the perfect way to show Sarah what she'd thrown away. But something else was happening too. Something I hadn't expected. I was genuinely starting to care about Marina Morrison. Wednesday evening, I arrived at the Morrison house with my tool bag and a bottle of wine. The house was a beautiful Victorian painted pale yellow with white trim surrounded by carefully maintained gardens that showed Marina's attention to detail. She answered the door in work clothes, old jeans and a paint-stained t-shirt, and somehow managed to look more beautiful than she had in her dress at the cafe. "You came," she said, and there was surprise in her voice, as if she'd expected me to change my mind. I said I would. The living room was spacious and bright, with built-in bookshelves and a stone fireplace. Marina had already moved most of the furniture out and covered what remained with plastic sheeting. "This is going to be a lot of work," I said, examining the existing floors. "Too much?" she asked, worry creeping into her voice. "Not too much. Just want to make sure you're prepared for the commitment. Once we start sanding, there's no going back." We worked side by side for the next 4 hours, taking turns with the floor sander, clearing dust and prepping the wood for staining. Marina was a dedicated worker, never complaining about the noise or the physical demands of the job. We talked over the sound of machinery, sharing stories about our worst home improvement disasters, and debating the merits of different wood stain colors. Around 10:30, we took a break and opened the wine. We sat on her back porch, looking out over her garden, both of us tired but satisfied with our progress. "Blake thinks I'm crazy for doing all this work myself," Marina said, swirling her wine. "He says we should just hire contractors for everything." "What's crazy about wanting to put your own effort into your home?" "That's what I think. But Blake sees everything in terms of efficiency and cost-benefit analysis. If we can afford to pay someone else to do it, why waste our time doing it ourselves?" "Maybe because the time isn't wasted. Maybe the process is part of the point." Marina smiled. "Exactly. I love the feeling of transforming a space with my own hands. It makes the house feel more like mine." "More like yours, or more like both of yours?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, more like mine. Blake doesn't seem to notice the changes I make. I redid our entire master bathroom last year. New tile, new fixtures, new paint, everything. It took me 3 weeks. When I finished, Blake walked through it and said, 'Looks nice.' And that was it." "That's not okay, Marina." "I know, but I keep hoping that maybe when he's less busy, when his business is more established, he'll start paying attention again." I wanted to tell her the truth then, that Blake wasn't busy with work, that he was with Sarah, that he was never going to be less busy because he was building a life with someone else. But Marina looked fragile in the moonlight, and I couldn't bring myself to shatter what was left of her hope. Instead, I said, "You deserve someone who notices when you put 3 weeks of work into making something beautiful." She looked at me and something passed between us. An understanding, a connection, a recognition of shared loneliness. "Eddie," she said softly, "I should tell you something. I know about Blake's affair." My wine glass stopped halfway to my lips. "What?" "I've known for months. The late nights, the unexplained expenses, the way he's completely checked out of our marriage. I'm not stupid." Her voice was calm, matter-of-fact, but I could hear the pain underneath. "Marina, I know about Sarah Martinez, too." The words hit me like a physical blow. "How?" "Millfield is a small town, Eddie. People talk. Someone saw them together at a restaurant in Portland. Someone else saw his car at her apartment complex. It wasn't hard to put the pieces together." I set down my wine glass, my hands shaking. "So when I asked you for coffee, I knew exactly who you were. Sarah's ex-fiancé, the man she left for my husband." We stared at each other in the darkness, the truth hanging between us like a bridge we could either cross or burn. "Why didn't you say anything?" I asked. "Because I wanted to see what kind of man you were, whether you were looking for revenge or something else." "And what's your verdict?" Marina smiled, but it was sad and knowing. "I think you started out looking for revenge, but I think you found something else instead." She was right. Somewhere between the paint store and the floor sanding, My feelings had shifted. Marina had stopped being a tool for revenge and started being a person I genuinely cared about. What do we do now? I asked. I don't know, but I know I'm tired of pretending my marriage isn't over, and I know I've enjoyed these last few days more than I've enjoyed anything in the past year. Before I could respond, headlights swept across the front yard. Marina tensed beside me. Blake's home early, she said. Blake Morrison stepped out of his silver BMW like he owned the world. He was tall, well-dressed, and carried himself with the kind of confidence that came from never having been truly challenged. Even at nearly 11 p.m., his hair was perfectly styled and his shirt unwrinkled. He stopped short when he saw my truck in his driveway. Marina and I had moved to the front porch by then, the wine bottle and glasses hidden, trying to look like innocent home improvement partners. But Blake's eyes were sharp, and I could see him calculating, assessing, drawing conclusions. Marina, he called out, his voice carrying an edge I didn't like. Who's your friend? This is Eddie, Marina replied, her voice steady. He's been helping me with the floors. Blake's gaze shifted to me, and I saw recognition flicker across his face. He'd seen me somewhere before, probably in photos on Sarah's phone or social media. His expression hardened. Eddie, he said, walking closer. Eddie Thompson, right? Sarah's ex? I stood up slowly, keeping my hands visible and my voice calm. That's right. What the hell are you doing at my house? Helping your wife with home improvement? Something you might try sometime. Blake's face flushed red. You need to leave now. Blake, Marina interjected, standing up as well. Eddie's been helping me sand the living room floors. We're not finished yet. I don't care what you're doing. This is inappropriate and I want him gone. Inappropriate? I couldn't keep the edge out of my voice. You want to talk about inappropriate? Blake stepped closer and I could smell expensive cologne and the faint scent of Sarah's perfume on his clothes. I don't know what game you're playing, but it ends now. No game, I said. Just helping a neighbor. Though I have to say, it's interesting that you're so concerned about your wife spending time with another man when you've been... Eddie, Marina's voice cut through the tension. Don't. Blake's eyes narrowed. When I've been what? The three of us stood there in a triangle of tension, the weight of unspoken truths pressing down on us. Blake knew that I knew. I knew that Marina knew. And Marina was trying to keep the whole thing from exploding. But I was tired of secrets and lies and people treating each other like garbage. When you've been screwing my ex-fiancé for the past 6 months, I said. Blake went very still. What did you say? You heard me. Sarah Martinez? Ring any bells? About 5'6", blonde hair, works in PR, thinks she's God's gift to mankind? The woman you've been providing with passion and soul connections while your wife renovates your house by herself? Marina closed her eyes, and I immediately regretted my words. This wasn't how she'd wanted this to come out. Blake looked between Marina and me, his face cycling through confusion, anger, and finally resignation. How long have you known? He asked Marina. Long enough? She replied quietly. And you? He asked me. How long have you known about Marina and me? Since Saturday, though technically Sarah told me about you the night I proposed to her. She said you were staying in her life permanently because you understood her soul. Blake actually laughed at that, a bitter sound that held no humor. Her soul? Right, is that what she called it? Among other things. She also said I was stable and reliable and provided security while you provided the passion she needed. Jesus Christ, Blake muttered, running his hands through his perfect hair. What a mess. Blake, Marina said, I think we need to talk. Yeah, we do, but not with him here. I looked at Marina, trying to gauge what she wanted me to do. Her expression was unreadable, but she gave me a small nod. I'll go, I said. Marina, thank you for dinner and for everything. Thank you for helping with the floors, Eddie. As I gathered my tools, Blake and Marina stood apart from each other, not touching, barely looking at each other. The distance between them spoke volumes about the state of their marriage. Blake, I said as I reached my truck, for what it's worth, you're an idiot. You had something real here, and you threw it away for someone who sees you as a hobby. And you're a hypocrite, he shot back. You came here to use my wife to get back at your ex. He wasn't wrong, and we both knew it. But as I drove away, I realized that my motivations had changed completely. I no longer cared about revenge against Sarah. I cared about Marina, and I wanted her to be happy, even if that meant working things out with her husband. Though something told me that ship had already sailed. Thursday morning brought a phone call that changed everything. Eddie? Marina's voice was shaky, exhausted. Can you meet me for coffee? I need someone to talk to. I found her at Brewster's, sitting in the same booth where we'd had our first coffee date. But this Marina was different. Hollow-eyed, fragile, like she'd been through a war. What happened? I asked, sliding into the seat across from her. Blake left. Last night after you went home, we had the fight we should have had months ago. He packed a bag and went to Sarah's. I reached across the table and took her hand. Marina, I'm sorry. Don't be. It was overdue. She squeezed my fingers. He admitted everything. The affair, the lies, the fact that he's been planning to leave me for months but didn't want to deal with the hassle of divorce proceedings. What a prince. The worst part is, I think I'm relieved. Does that make me a terrible person? It makes you human. You've been living in limbo for months, knowing something was wrong but not being able to address it. At least now you know where you stand. Marina smiled for the first time since I'd arrived. Blake said something interesting before he left. He said Sarah had been asking about you, wanting to know if he'd heard from you or seen you around town. Sarah's been calling and texting nonstop since Friday. I've been ignoring her. Maybe you shouldn't. I looked at Marina carefully. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that Sarah Martinez is about to learn what it feels like to be the stable, reliable choice instead of the exciting secret. Blake's going to move in with her, and suddenly their passionate affair becomes a mundane live-in relationship. She'll have to deal with his dirty laundry and his bad moods and his tendency to leave dishes in the sink. You think the novelty will wear off? I think Sarah fell in love with the idea of Blake, not the reality, the sneaking around, the forbidden romance, the drama of it all. Take away the secrecy and what's left. Marina was right, and we both knew it. Sarah thrived on drama and attention. A committed relationship with Blake would give her neither. So what do you suggest? I asked. Answer her calls. Let her see what she gave up. Show her that you've moved on to someone better. Marina, Eddie, I'm not asking you to use me for revenge anymore. I'm asking you to let me help you get closure, and maybe help myself get some too. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Sarah's name appeared on the screen. Answer it, Marina said. I swiped up to accept the call. Hello, Sarah. Eddie, thank God, I've been trying to reach you for days. We need to talk. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Can you meet me somewhere? Please, I know I hurt you, but there are things you don't understand. I looked at Marina, who nodded encouragingly. Where? Romano's, where we got engaged, tonight at 8. Fine, but this is the last time, Sarah. After tonight, we're done. Eddie, wait. I hung up and looked at Marina. You sure about this? Positive. But Eddie, when you see her tonight, I want you to remember something. What's that? You deserve someone who chooses you first, not someone who keeps you as a backup plan. That evening, I arrived at Romano's 15 minutes early and requested the same table where Sarah had destroyed our engagement 4 days ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sarah arrived exactly on time, looking stunning in a black dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. But for the first time in 2 years, her beauty left me cold. Eddie, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. You look good. What do you want, Sarah? I want to apologize. What I said Friday night came out wrong. I was nervous about the engagement, about the future, and I said things I didn't mean. Which part didn't you mean? The part about Blake staying in your life permanently? Or the part about me being stable and reliable while he provides the passion? Sarah's perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide the flush that crept up her neck. I was confused, Eddie. Blake and I have history, but that doesn't mean... Sarah, stop. Blake left his wife last night. He's living with you now, isn't he? Her silence was answer enough. So you got what you wanted, I continued. Blake chose you over his wife. You won. It's not about winning, isn't it? You wanted the excitement of an affair and the security of an engagement. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. Sarah's composure cracked slightly. You don't understand what Blake and I have together. I understand perfectly. You have drama, you have passion. You have someone who tells you what you want to hear instead of what you need to hear. And what do I need to hear, Eddie? I leaned back in my chair, studying the woman I'd thought I wanted to spend my life with. You need to hear that real love isn't about passion and soul connections. It's about choosing the same person every day, even when they leave dishes in the sink. It's about building something together instead of just taking from each other. Is that what you think we were doing? Taking from each other? I think you were taking from me. My stability, my reliability, my devotion. And I was taking scraps of your attention whenever you weren't distracted by something more exciting. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but I felt nothing. No urge to comfort her. No desire to take back my words. Eddie, I made a mistake. Blake isn't... Things aren't what I thought they would be. What do you mean? Living together is different from having an affair. He's moody, demanding. He expects me to take care of everything domestic while he focuses on work. And he talks about his wife constantly. How she used to do this. How she used to do that. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. Sarah, you made your choice. You chose Blake over me, drama over stability, passion over partnership. Now you get to live with the consequences. But what if I was wrong? What if I want to try again? Then you're going to be disappointed, because I've moved on. Sarah's tears stopped flowing, replaced by something harder. Moved on? It's been 4 days, Eddie. Sometimes 4 days is enough to see clearly. With who? She demanded. Who could you possibly have met in 4 days? I smiled, thinking of Marina's warmth, her genuine laughter, her dedication to creating something beautiful even when no one noticed. Someone who chooses me first, I said. Someone who appreciates what I bring to the table, instead of seeing me as a consolation prize. Sarah's face went pale. You're seeing someone. I'm getting to know someone. Someone incredible. Who is she? I stood up, leaving money on the table for my untouched drink. Someone who deserves better than being discussed with my ex-fiancé. As I walked toward the exit, Sarah called after me. Eddie, wait. This isn't over. I turned back to look at her one last time. Yes, Sarah, it is. Outside, I called Marina. How did it go? She asked. Exactly like you predicted. She wants me back now that Blake's not exciting anymore. And how do you feel? Free, I said. Completely free. Good. Because I have a proposition for you. I'm listening. Blake's coming by tomorrow to get the rest of his things. I'd like you to be there. Marina, I don't think that's a good idea. Eddie, I'm not asking you to fight him or cause drama. I'm asking you to be there because I don't want to face him alone. And because I think it's time all 4 of us stopped playing games. I thought about it for a moment. Marina was right. We'd all been dancing around the truth for too long. What time? I asked. 2 o'clock. I'll be there. Friday afternoon found me back at the Morrison house, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. Marina had finished the living room floors while I was gone, and they looked incredible. Rich, warm hardwood that gleamed in the afternoon sunlight. You finished them, I said, running my hand along the smooth surface. I needed something to do with my hands while I thought, Marina replied. They turned out better than I expected. They're beautiful. Blake's an idiot for missing this. Blake's an idiot for a lot of things. We were interrupted by the sound of a car in the driveway. Through the window, I could see Blake's BMW, and behind it, Sarah's white Mercedes. She came with him, Marina observed. Of course she did. Sarah's never been able to resist drama. Blake and Sarah approached the front door together, and I had to admit they made a striking couple. Both tall, both polished, both carrying themselves like they owned the world. But there was tension between them too. Blake walked slightly ahead. Sarah followed with the careful steps of someone walking on eggshells. Marina opened the door before they could knock. Blake? Sarah. Her voice was coolly polite. Marina, Blake replied. I've come for my things. They're packed and ready, living room. Blake stepped inside and stopped short when he saw the refinished floors. For just a moment, his composed mask slipped, and I saw genuine regret in his eyes. The floors look incredible, he said quietly. Thank you. Sarah, meanwhile, had spotted me standing near the fireplace. Her expression cycled through surprise, anger, and something that might have been jealousy. Eddie, she said, I didn't expect to see you here. I didn't expect to see you either, but here we are. Blake's boxes were stacked neatly by the door, clothes, books, personal items, the detritus of a failed marriage. As he began loading them into his car, Sarah lingered in the living room, studying Marina and me like we were specimens in a lab. So this is your someone incredible? She asked me. Sarah, I warned. No, it's fine, Marina said, stepping closer to me. Yes, I'm Eddie's someone incredible. Just like Blake is, you're someone passionate and soul connected. Sarah's perfectly composed facade cracked. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? Eddie told me about your conversation at Romano's, about how you needed Blake for passion and Eddie for stability. How's that working out for you? Marina, Blake called from the doorway. We should go. But Sarah wasn't finished. You think you know him? She said to Marina. You think you understand what kind of man Eddie really is? He's using you to get back at me. This whole thing is revenge. You're right, Marina said calmly. It started as revenge. Eddie came looking for me because he wanted to hurt you the way you hurt him. Sarah smiled triumphantly, but Marina wasn't finished. But you know what happened instead? He got to know me. The real me, not the version of me that exists to serve someone else's needs. And I got to know him. The man who spends 4 hours helping someone refinish floors just because she asked. The man who listens when I talk about my dreams and doesn't try to fix everything or dismiss my feelings. Marina moved closer to me, and I felt the warmth of her presence. Eddie started out looking for revenge, but he found something better. He found someone who appreciates him for who he is, not what he can provide. And what about you? Sarah demanded. Are you using him to get back at Blake? Marina considered this seriously. Maybe I was at first, but then I realized something. Blake leaving me wasn't a loss, it was a gift, because it freed me to find someone who actually sees me. Blake returned from loading his car, his face carefully neutral. I think we should go, Sarah. Not yet, Sarah said, her voice rising. I want to know what makes her so special. What does she have that I don't? The question hung in the air, and I realized this was my moment. My chance to finally say everything I'd been thinking for the past week. You want to know the difference, Sarah? Marina doesn't keep me as a backup plan. She doesn't need me to provide security while she gets excitement somewhere else. She chooses me every day, not because I'm safe or stable or reliable, but because she wants to build something with me. We could have built something. No, we couldn't, because you were never fully present. Part of you is always looking for something better, someone more exciting. Marina's here, completely choosing this life we're creating together. Sarah's composure finally shattered completely. This is insane. You've known her for a week. Sometimes a week is enough to recognize something real, Marina said. Just like sometimes 2 years isn't enough to build something lasting if it's built on the wrong foundation. Blake stepped forward, his own patience clearly exhausted. Sarah, we're leaving. Now. But Sarah wasn't ready to go. You think this is going to last? She said to Marina. You think Eddie's going to be satisfied with small-town life and home improvement projects? He's going to get bored with you just like Blake got bored with me. Blake didn't get bored with you, Marina replied. Blake got bored with sneaking around. He wanted the excitement of an affair, not the reality of a relationship. And now you're both learning the difference. Sarah looked between Marina and me, and I saw the exact moment she realized she'd lost. Not just me, but the whole game she'd been playing. This isn't over, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Yes, it is, I said firmly. Sarah, you made your choice. You picked Blake over me, drama over stability, passion over partnership. You got exactly what you asked for. Now let us get what we asked for. Blake took Sarah's arm and guided her toward the door. Come on, we're done here. As they reached the threshold, Blake turned back one last time. Marina, I'm sorry for all of it. I know you are, Blake, but sorry doesn't fix anything. The house is yours, he said. I'll have my lawyer draw up papers transferring my half to you. That's not necessary. Yes, it is. You put your heart into this place. It should be yours. After they left, Marina and I stood in her beautiful living room, surrounded by the evidence of her hard work and dedication. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows, highlighting the warm tones of the refinished floors. So, Marina said, that happened. That happened, I agreed. Any regrets? I looked at this incredible woman who had chosen me, who had seen past my initial motives to the man I was trying to become, who had turned my revenge plot into something real and beautiful. Only one, I said. Marina's face fell. What? I regret that it took Sarah breaking my heart for me to find you. Marina's smile could have powered the entire town. You know what I regret? What? I regret that we wasted a whole week pretending this was about revenge when it was really about finding each other. I pulled her into my arms and she fit perfectly against me, like she'd been made to be there. Marina Morrison, I said, you are the most incredible woman I've ever met. Marina Morrison, she replied. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? It does. Though I have to admit, I've been thinking Marina Thompson sounds pretty good too. She looked up at me, eyes sparkling with mischief and possibility. Are you proposing to me, Eddie Thompson? Not yet, but I'm thinking about it. Is that okay? More than okay. But next time you propose to someone, maybe choose a better restaurant than Romano's. I laughed and spun her around the room, her feet sliding on the smooth floor she'd refinished with her own hands. Deal, I said. Though I should warn you, I'm stable, reliable, and I provide security. Perfect, Marina said, standing on her tiptoes to kiss me. Because I choose stable. I choose reliable. I choose security. But most of all, I choose you. Outside, I could hear Blake's BMW driving away, taking Sarah and the last remnants of my old life with it. Inside, Marina and I held each other in the house she'd made beautiful through her own determination and hard work. Sarah had been right about one thing. I was stable, reliable, and I provided security. But what she'd never understood was that those weren't consolation prizes. They were the foundation of something real, something lasting, something worth building a life on. And Marina Morrison, soon to be Marina Thompson, if I had anything to say about it, understood that completely. She had chosen me first, and I had chosen her first. And that made all the difference in the world.